It was May 29, 1453. A city that had stood for over 1,000 years was about to fall silent forever. Constantinople, the jewel of the ancient world, the beating heart of the Byzantine Empire, had survived sieges, plagues, and centuries of war. Its massive Theodosian walls built in the 5th century had never been breached. To the people who lived within them, those walls were not just stone and mortar. They were a promise that the city would endure. But on this morning, that promise was broken. For 53 days, the Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II had kept his forces pressed against the city's defenses. He was just 21 years old, young, ambitious, and utterly determined. He had brought with him an army estimated at between 80,000 and 100,000 soldiers. He had brought warships. And he had brought something the walls had never faced before: massive bronze cannons, engineered by a Hungarian artillery specialist named Urban, capable of hurling stone cannonballs weighing over 300 kilograms. The walls that had stood undefeated for a millennium began to crack. Inside the city, the situation was desperate. The Byzantine Emperor Constantine XI Palaiologos commanded fewer than 7,000 defenders. They had pleaded for help from Western Europe. Promises had been made, but the help never came. Constantinople faced the greatest military force of its age almost entirely alone. The Genoese commander Giustiniani had fought brilliantly throughout the siege, holding the critical section of the land walls. But in the final hours he was wounded, severely. His departure from the battlements shattered the morale of the defenders at the worst possible moment. Mehmed had also executed a remarkable feat of military ingenuity earlier in the siege. Unable to break through the chain the Byzantines had stretched across the Golden Horn, he ordered his ships to be transported overland, dragged on greased wooden logs across a hill, and relaunched into the waters behind the chain. It was an audacious maneuver, and it worked. The Byzantines were now threatened from multiple directions. In the pre-dawn hours of May 29th, Mehmed launched his final assault. Waves of soldiers struck the walls. First the irregular troops, then the Anatolian forces, and finally the elite Janissaries, the Ottoman Sultan's most feared and disciplined warriors. The defenders fought back with everything they had, but they were exhausted, outnumbered, and the walls in several places had been reduced to rubble by days of relentless cannon fire. Then came the moment everything changed. A small gate, the Kerkoporta, had been left unlocked, possibly by accident, in the confusion of battle. A group of Ottoman soldiers found it, pushed through, and suddenly appeared inside the walls. Panic spread among the defenders. Word raced through the ranks the city had fallen. The Ottomans were inside. Understanding what was happening, he removed his imperial regalia and charged into the fighting on foot. He was never seen alive again. His body was never conclusively identified. The last emperor of Byzantium vanished into the chaos of battle, and with him, the final chapter of the Roman Empire, a line of succession stretching back 1,500 years, came to an end. By mid-morning, the city was in Ottoman hands. Mehmed II rode through the gates and made his way to the great cathedral of Hagia Sophia. For nearly 1,000 years the grandest church in all of Christendom. He ordered that it be converted into a mosque. He knelt and pressed his forehead to the floor. The fall of Constantinople sent shockwaves across the known world. In Europe, church bells rang in mourning. Scholars and intellectuals fled westward, carrying with them manuscripts of ancient Greek and Roman texts, the manuscripts that would help ignite the Renaissance. Trade routes that had run through the city for centuries were disrupted, pushing explorers to seek new paths to the east. Voyages that would, within decades, lead to the discovery of the Americas. The Byzantine Empire, the eastern continuation of Rome, was gone, and yet the city itself endured. Mehmed II chose not to destroy Constantinople but to transform it. He rebuilt it, repopulated it, and made it the capital of what would become one of the most powerful empires in history. The city that had fallen became Istanbul, and it would rise again. History does not end with collapse. Sometimes an ending is simply the world rearranging itself into something new. The walls of Constantinople are still there. You can walk alongside them today. They do not tell you only of defeat. They tell you of 1,000 years of endurance, of a city that refused to fall until the very last moment, and of an emperor who chose to die with his empire rather than abandon it. That too is a kind of immortality.